Hi BookTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to share with you guys my May wrap-up for 2017. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's June. I get out of school, working. I get out of school in 2 weeks and I'm so excited. I love being able to have the summers off like my kids, and I get to play and sleep in and stay up all night and do whatever I want, and it's so fun. I can't wait. Anyways, in May, I read 7 books. I know. I think I am now finally out of my funk. 7 books, super excited, loved them all. I did do one weekly wrap-up at the beginning of May, which I talked about 3 of the books that I will be talking about again in this video. So if you want to watch that video, because it's going to be talking about those 3 books in more detail, I will leave the link down below. So the first book that I read in May was The Magicians by Lev Grossman. This is my absolute favorite. I gave this book 5 stars. I still need to read the second and third books, but let me tell you, the second time around, I loved this book even more. I am in love with the TV show. I love Quentin. I love all of his emo-ness. I love everything about the magicians, what they do, what they stand for, the realistic nature of doom and gloom, and everything is just so depressing and nothing is going to be, come out your way, because that's life. It can be shitty sometimes. Sometimes you get good stuff, but most of the time it's shitty. Okay, that's a little pessimistic. Absolutely loved this book. Definitely does not reflect my personality whatsoever, but I do enjoy reading dark stories. So yeah, I cannot wait to read the second one, like I said, and if you want to talk to me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and gush about this book with me, please do so, because I could go on and on about the magicians. All right, the next book that I read in June was Bad Unicorn. This is by Platt F. Clark. It's a middle grade fantasy. It's about Max Spencer, the boy who is in control of the Codex of Infinite Knowability. He doesn't know how he got this book, but he has it. He's human and magical, but he doesn't know why. Then we have Princess the Destroyer, who is not your typical fairy tale unicorn. She's not, nice. She's not elegant. She doesn't do anything that is creative or angelic. I was trying to think of all these, cutesy names that unicorns have. No, she's bad. She kills and eats people. She destroys villages. She plunders. She catches things on fire. She's also, what do they call it when you can go from human to unicorn? Shapeshifter? I love it, because when she's not a unicorn and she's walking around as a human woman with just her horn in her hand as like a wand, she's so badass. Anyways, I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. Definitely cannot wait to read the next 2 books in the trilogy. I need to own this book ASAP. They don't have it at Barnes & Noble in the store, and I don't want to buy it online because I have to pay shipping. So I'm waiting for Book Outlet to have it. Book Outlet, you probably don't watch my videos, but get that book because I need it in hardcover, not paperback. Thank you. All right, the next book that I read in May was The Devil's Prayer. And here's a picture. I read this on my Kindle. This is by Luke Gracias. Amazing religious horror story about a woman who does some things in her past and then turns into a nun and then commits suicide, and her daughter has to figure out why she did it, and there's this confession that we learn about, and it's got all this stuff in it, and it's like the Da Vinci Code, but with a female protagonist. It was such a fun, interesting read. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I want it in physical copy. It's not in physical copy yet, but it should be sometime this summer. Hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I need it in my life. It was so good. If you like the Da Vinci Code, I would highly pick up The Devil's Prayer. So good. All right, on to the books that I have not discussed yet. So the next book that I read in May was The Bell Jar. Here we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I read this for the mental illness readathon last month, and I gave it 4 stars. Why did I say it so funny? I gave it 4 stars, but I was kind of disappointed in it because I never read the synopsis of this. I just knew it was Sylvia Plath and that it was like an autobiography or a semi-autobiography of herself and how she went into a mental hospital for certain reasons. Now, reading this book, I found out that Sylvia Plath had depression, that she committed suicide, or I guess we're not supposed to say committed suicide anymore. We're supposed to say took her life. What is it? I don't know. Katie talked about it on her channel a couple weeks back. Correct me down below what it's supposed to be called instead of committed suicide. Is it just supposed to be death by suicide? Maybe that's it. Death by suicide. So she kills herself because she's depressed. Now, I don't have, I can't relate to depression. Now, if you were to read a book about alcoholism or other types of addiction, I can relate because my family is full of addicts and all this other stuff. But depression, I don't understand depression. And so reading this book, I wasn't getting it. And then on top of that, this book is about the friends of our main character. So I thought it was going to be more about the whole mental health aspect while she was in the hospital, how she came to live with her depression, what she did to not fix it, because you can't fix depression necessarily, but just how did she cope. But it doesn't talk about that. Most of it talks about how her friends reacted to it, how she saw her friends and what her friends did and so forth. So it was kind of weird in a way because it was kind of like an outside experience. It wasn't so her experience in the mental hospital. And then again, there is no like real closure of our main character because it is supposed to be a reflection of Sylvia Plath in the character that we have here. And what's the character's name? Esther. So Esther does go to a mental hospital, but we don't get to hear about her getting better or moving on or coping with her depression. Again, it's all about her friends and family and stuff like that. So even though it's gorgeously written, I put down a lot of quotes from this book. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, so I gave it 4 stars. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, the next book that I completed in May was The Gunslinger by Stephen King. This is my illustrated edition. The bad thing about these editions are they are abridged, so they're shortened, which is kind of a bummer, but it does have some beautiful illustrations. I absolutely love. Let me show you another one. Here is another picture. So beautiful. Yes, I absolutely loved it. It's an audiobook that I read this month, or in May. So, yeah, I absolutely loved it. Right now I'm reading book 2. I cannot wait to continue on with the series. Just so good. I can't believe I waited so long to pick this up. It is not about a cowboy. That's what I thought it was going to be about. It's not a cowboy. The gunslinger is like a knight, and he goes around, you know, doing things for a purpose. He's not just killing people for just to kill. And this first book is about him traveling through the desert, trying to capture the man in black. He doesn't know who the man in black is, but he's been pursuing him for a long time. It doesn't say how long. And we just get to learn more and more about the Gunslinger. I don't want to go too far into it because as the intro goes, we don't really get to figure out who the Gunslinger is and like what his name is until like maybe chapter 4 or 5. It's very mysterious. But his quest is very interesting. The people that he meets along the way, I absolutely loved. My favorite is the little boy that he befriends in the book. I wished they could have had a friendship forever, but they had to go their separate ways at one point in time. It was just so good. So if you didn't pick up the Gunslinger yet because you were afraid it was going to be some junk cowboy story or a Wild West story or a Western, any kind of story, it is not. It is, like I said, a quest. It's a fantasy. He is in another world. He's not on Earth. It's something similar to Earth, but he's not of Earth. And his world has moved on. It kind of made me feel like the elves of Lord of the Rings, where like they said, oh, well, we're going to go to this island because, you know, this world has moved on. They don't need us anymore. And that's how I felt with the Gunslinger's world, how everything's slowly dying and people are, you know, passing on. They're not supposed to be there anymore. So, yes, he's trying to get to the Dark Tower. That's his mission. And it takes 7 books to get there. But I can't wait to find out how he does it. So exciting. Okay, the next book that I read in May is The White Boy by Trace Conger. This author asked if I wanted to read his novella, and I said yes, and I'm absolutely excited and happy that I did because it came out to be fantastic. I gave this book 5 stars. I never give novellas 5 stars because normally it's too short. I don't feel like the story was complete, and this one totally was. By the way, I've had to pause this video a few times because of coughing. So I have all of my reviews for all the books that I read on my Goodreads page, but I also leave all those links down below. So if you want more detail, you can always read my reviews because sometimes my videos, the verbal reviews aren't as good as my written ones. So this is about a man in his mid-30s, right? I could be wrong. I think so. What I liked about this book so much was the family dynamic. So there's a husband and a wife, and there's a son. The son's 5. There's another, I think it's a sister. Is it a sister? I want to say it's a sister. And she's a little bit older. Anyways, you get to see that in the book. So they don't like just brush past the whole family dynamic and like what they do in their daily lives. I really like that because, you know, I'm a mom and I have a family, and I just like reading books that, you know, talk about that kind of daily grind of waking up, making breakfast, yada yada. So it has that in here. And then one night the husband hears his son crying, and he goes into the room and he's like, what is wrong with you? And the boy's all, there's a boy with no face behind my rocking chair. Right there, I was hooked. I was like, yes, there's a ghost in his room. Find out what it is. And it keeps happening. This boy keeps seeing this ghost in his room. The dad doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't believe the son at all. And I'm not going to say anymore because it has kind of like a Babadook vibe to it. And I absolutely loved that. It also kind of has like the Conjuring vibe to it. So if you like Babadook, if you like the Conjuring, you're absolutely going to love this novella. It was just so awesome. So it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, which sometimes novellas don't have. It was fully complete. All of the characters were fleshed out. There's a reason for everything, why there's monsters, why there's ghosts, yada yada, where it came from. There's a backstory on the dad, there's a backstory on the grandpa. It's just such a complete novella, and spooky, and amazing, and I just absolutely loved it. And the cool thing is, Trace, I keep thinking I'm saying it wrong. No, it's Trace. Trace is in the works of making another horror. He has 3 crime books that he has written that's already been published that I'm looking forward to reading. But he also is hoping to write more horror in the future, and I cannot wait for that because I find his writing very addictive. So if you want, pick up this book. So good. It's very short. Novella. So good. All right. And the last book that I read in May is this picture right here. The Cabin, was it? The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I gave that book 4 stars. Now I know a lot of people have talked about how this book is not as good as In a Dark, Dark Wood, or that they don't like Ruth Ware's writing that much. Like, it's okay, but it's not great. This book had me thinking about it days after I finished reading it. In the very first 3 pages, you find out that our main character's house is broken into and she's completely afraid. And you also find out that she's supposed to go on this trip. She works for a travel agency. She's supposed to be documenting everything about this luxury liner. It's going on its maiden voyage, so its first voyage out to sea to see the Aurora Borealis over in Norway. So in the northern Arctic area. Gosh darn it. And so she gets on board and she meets all the people, and there's only like 13 people on board. And she, right off the bat, she goes next door to her neighbor and she's like, hey, can I borrow some mascara? And her neighbor's flustered and she's like, oh, here, have it. Don't give it back to me. Just leave me alone. And our main character's like, oh, okay, my bad. But then she never sees that girl again and she starts freaking out. And then one night she hears a scream and she thinks that she sees a body go overboard from this ship. And that's all I'm going to say. So she thinks she saw a body. She hasn't seen the girl on board since that very first day. And the whole book is about, was there someone really in cabin 10? And how is she going to make people believe her? I thought it was really good. I thought it was handled well. I don't know why there's such bad like reviews on the book, because I didn't know what was going on. And let me tell you, I'm a super gullible reader, so maybe that's the reason. Because I'm so gullible, I just believe everything I read, and then when the plot changes and there's a twist, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine this even happening. So maybe that's the reason why. I thought it was a fun read. I liked the ending. I really liked the ending because I wasn't expecting that at all. Maybe somebody might have. Again, if they weren't so gullible, they would know right off the bat, oh, this is what happened and this is what happened. So, yeah. If you like adult thrillers and you have read Ruth Ware's first book, In a Dark, Dark Wood, I would pick it up. I mean, it's not the best thriller, but it was good. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure out if the woman was real or not. And if she wasn't, I couldn't come up with a killer. So, yeah, it was all written well. I liked it. 4 stars. All right, and my last book that I want to share, I know that I've already finished all of my May reads that I read, but I wanted to share a book that I read to my children in May, and that is My Family, My 2 Dads by Claudia Harrington and illustrated by Zoe Persico. I just thought it was such a cute book, and it didn't talk about the dads in a way where it was just, I don't want to say blatant, because obviously this little girl has 2 dads, but it wasn't something new or strange or different. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it was normal. Like, this little boy has to go to her house and meet her parents, and she's not embarrassed or afraid of him meeting her 2 dads. He doesn't ask any kinds of masculine or feminine questions. When he gets there, he really enjoys her parents. He asks questions like, oh, who reads you bedtime stories? And she says, well, Poppy reads me bedtime stories because he's a better storyteller. And he'll say like, oh, well, who makes the dinner? And she goes, well, Papa makes the dinner because he's a better cook. It's not about well, one parent is more feminine and that's why he cooks, because there's no gender roles, because they're two, well, there shouldn't be gender roles anyway, but so there's two dads, so they just do whatever they're best at. And again, it's a normal family, so they're normalizing it and they're not making it weird, and the boy's not all like asking strange questions like, why do you have two dads? He's just like, cool, what do they do? How do you like this? One's silly, one's not. I really, really liked that fact, that it was just so normalized, and, you know, helps kids realize that there are different kinds of families, and not one family is the same. So maybe one has two dads, maybe one has two moms, maybe one has a white dad and a black mom, maybe they're both Asian. It doesn't matter. There's, you know, every family is different and also cool at the same time, and normal, and everything's to be expected. I don't know. Hopefully I said all that correctly. I just really enjoyed the book, and I liked the pictures, and I thought the kids were really cute, and I wanted to share. If you want more diverse books for your little kids, I would pick this one up. I really liked it. All right, that is my May wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below what you read in May, and yeah, that's it. I guess that's it. I don't have any other questions. Just let me know what you read down below, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.